Happy Sunday, everyone. Welcome to our first ever Temple Adas Shalom Choir Purim Roundtable. Something a little different. Yes, it's not a Zoom meeting. Well, it is for us, but it's not. It's something a little different for you all. Welcome. We're glad to see everybody. Just a little bit about what we're doing here today. The pandemic continues to kind of ease off, but it didn't give us really a chance to come back to the temple in time and do a full Purim Spiel. And so while we're waiting for next year, we thought we'd get together and talk about Purim's past. The things that we did for many years here at Temple Adas Shalom, the things that we really liked. We have a couple of new members who one who I'll introduce in a moment hasn't done one with us yet, and one who came in to do one virtually with us last year. And we're looking so forward to being back next year for doing a full Purim Spiel with our new family members here. So those of you who are watching, by all means, our chat is open. If you would like to, if you are part of our temple community and you in the chat want to talk about your favorite Purim Spiels from us that you saw, ideas for Purim Spiels you'd love to see, or any questions that you have that we can answer a little later, please put them in the chat. And we're looking to have a great time today. So I want to introduce the members of our adult choir who are here today. We have on the, now I always do this on camera, I get it that way, ha ha. So we have Pat and Mark Walco. Next to them is Denise Gordon. Down below me here is Miss Karen Wood. We have across from her, and I'm skipping him for a reason, I'm going to try down angle, there we go, Mr. Jeff Nathan. And bottom center is Sherry Morris. So we do have a couple of members who unfortunately could not be with us today. Stu and Linda Needle, they are out on a boat somewhere and with no internet, so they couldn't be here. And unfortunately, Miss Ann Pollen is under the weather and could not be with us today. But hopefully she's watching. And Ann, if you are watching, if you put anything that you want to say in the chat, I'll make sure that we bring it up. So without further ado, I want to introduce in the center square. He is one of our new members of the Temple Adas Shalom Choir, and he is going to be our moderator and MC for the day. And you know what? I am going to get it wrong. So give me a second to make sure I say it correctly.
Say your name.
David, I don't want to butcher your last name because I don't say it very often.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
So,
it's David
Dirlam.
Dirlam.
See, I didn't know if the A was long
fine.
or if it was so. All right. So Mr. David Dirlam, and he's going to be our moderator for this afternoon.
It's a family trait. We all learn how to tell people how to pronounce their name.
That's okay. If I get one more person that calls me Mullins with an N.
Anyway, thanks a lot, Mike. You saw Karen Wood's delightful trailer of what Purim Spiels at Temple Adas Shalom used to look like. For this year's pandemic, I interviewed every one of the choir members about their past Purim experiences and learned some new lessons about its meaning. We ended up raising together 5 basic questions about Purim. For each question, I picked 2 people who focused on it, and they will kick off the whole panel's discussion. But after we've had enough time to discuss each question, and I think that we're going to go over our overall time limit, I might actually introduce Haman and go, and in which case we'll bring up the next question. So after we discuss all 5 questions, I'll recap what we've learned, and we'll have an opportunity for questions from the audience that we haven't answered so far. So question number one, what does the choir mean for celebrating our Jewishness on Purim? To this question, Jeff made a comment, no matter what the melody, the power is in people coming together to sing the words they all know. Pat, what do you think of Jeff's comment?
Well, I'm kind of filling in for Ann on this. So I think from Ann's point of view, and I agree, is that we first of all, we love doing them and we enjoy doing them, but you know, we look at she mentioned the social ills of what's going on in the world today and comparing them to the perils of the Jews during this time that we tell the story of, and find a creative way to display that in a fun way. Not that we make light of the difficulties that we've had in our lives as Jewish people, but to show that we can move on and be a happy people, and you know, we just kind of move along and make the best of it and teach others, you know, our past and how to cope today. So, what do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, I completely agree, Pat. I think another really cool thing about the Purim Spiel, and you know, I've only had the benefit of being in one so far with the choir here, but I certainly look forward to all the future ones to come. But I think one of the really cool things about it is it brings us all together and allows us to kind of be, you know, express ourselves in a way that we might not get the opportunity to during the rest of the year. You know, we get to kind of, kind of celebrate the miracle that happened on the Purim holiday and do so in kind of a, in sort of a comedic way that still harkens to the sacredness of the holiday, but really be a little bit over the top and theatrical in a certain way. And it's kind of a cool benefit that we all get to do that and not really any other forum throughout the Jewish year. So I really like it for that respect. And that's kind of what it means to me to celebrate the Jewishness on Purim.
What's kind of cool too. What's kind of cool too is, though, a lot of times Purim happens in March, and having that being, you know, like the women's month, you know, Esther's the heroine, and we oftentimes get to portray this heroism through lots of other characters and lots of other stories all the time. So it sort of shines on us a little bit too.
Totally
Jeff, you came in really and kind of late in the process too, as we were planning last year's Purim Spiel, and I have to say, just, you know, as the choir director and the guy who had to put all that together, I had an awful lot of fun watching you play Mordecai. I mean, it was just I kept watching the clips over and over and doing the editing and getting it right, and I'm like, man, next year I can't wait, you know. So it was great. It was great to see that portrayed, and what it did for me is it reminded me that it doesn't have to be on stage, although we love to be on stage in our Bema stage, but we can use technology as well as our live presence to help tell that story. And it's a story, you know, the story of Purim is one and that needs to be told, that you know, future generations of Jews need to understand, and it's a joyous occasion, but it's one that we should be telling, and it's great that we get a chance to do that.
Well, if there's one thing I'm good at doing, Mike, it's hamming it up on stage. So I really enjoyed playing Mordecai as well. And but I definitely agree with your comments. It's great, whether virtually or in person, just being able to have the platform for us to tell the story of Purim and, you know, our triumphs over the evils of those who are trying to diminish the Jewish people. So I completely agree.
It's also kind of fun to be able to play different roles over the years. I know we were just looking through the different roles that we were playing, and of course with the guys, there's the king, there's Haman, and there's Mordecai. Guards can be male or female. Most of the other characters, kind of go either way. But it really kind of brings it home when you play one of those positions, just exactly what that person's role is, and you can bring it out to the audience in whatever way you want to try to make it happen.
And there he is. There he is. I had to. Hold on.
Fantastic. I should have worn the robe for this meeting here.
I didn't even understand what was going on just now.
And you had to pick Pokemon. You had to have the Pokemon song of anything, and you did it so well.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Oh, who else? What else does it mean?
Karen, you had a comment, didn't you? Oh, can't hear you.
You're on mute.
Sorry, that was not a Zoom mute. That was this stupid thing muted me. I was just saying that for being a bunch of Jews, we sure have a lot of ham. I mean, I know that I am that way.
Good.
I know there's a couple other folks that are that way. I'm not going to say, but it always makes for a fun time. And yeah, I mean, it's like really the one time of year that, I mean, yes, we have fun all year round. We do fun things. We have fun holidays, even on the holidays that are meant to be a little bit more reverent. We still have fun, but this is like meant to be, a ball.
It was exactly
Yeah,
it was exactly
so
a decade ago when Annette and I were staying on campus at the Hebrew Union College across from the Tower of David in Jerusalem. And we couldn't go anyplace because it was Purim, and the taxi drivers would not drive any place near the Orthodox portions of Jerusalem because none of the males were sober.
yeah, it's like Mardi Gras, and it's funny because it happens the same time of year, sort of.
They all learned it from us.
They did.
We are the originators of Mardi Gras. Well, the king did try to make Vashti dance naked in the streets.
That's fair.
It's
Fair point.
yeah.
True.
Maybe the
Very
people
Mardi
of
Gras.
Shushan were throwing beads. You never know.
We don't know. Maybe they did.
You don't know.
They're casting lots, right? Right, Mark.
Ha ha ha.
Exactly.
Oh man. Yeah, it'll be nice to get back to, doing stuff all in person. Not that I haven't enjoyed doing this. I mean, this is really fun to put together, and last year was fun to put together, but it'll be nice and we can actually, I mean, I was going to say throw beads. That doesn't make sense, but maybe we could.
Throw groggers.
Or don't throw groggers.
No, don't throw groggers.
No.
Beads, probably limited injury potential.
Hamantaschen, and we catch them and eat them. That's
Well, it is interesting and fun to try to fit the Purim story into whatever show that we're mimicking. You always can find a character who is like the Haman, the bad guy, or girl, as the case may be, and then the star, the Esther, the heroine or hero. I think probably the craziest was certainly our Wicked Wizard of Oz Wiz show, where we had 3 different time frames going at once, and everyone was playing like 3 or 4 characters. That was a lot of fun.
That was fun.
That was a great one, and one of the things that that has always marveled me. So for those who are watching that might not be members of the temple, I have the privilege of being the choir director for this awesome group of talented people, and one of the biggest talents that that the choir has is when you see our spiels, believe it or not, they're not spiels we've gotten off the internet. They're not spiels that we have purchased from a company that writes them. This choir writes all of our spiels. Everything we've ever done, everyone here and those even who are not here, Stu, Linda, and we write these and we write the songs for them. We take songs that are, Disney or Wicked, and I think that year was Wicked, The Wiz, and Wizard of Oz. Those were the three we went with. And we all sat down and picked something from one of those three and wrote an amazing libretto for it. And the most impressive thing is they're not short songs. Some of the songs that have been written have been 3.5 minutes long, and I mean it's an amazing thing. And in fact, the spiel we did last year, they were all show tunes or TV tunes and things like that, but they're all things that we rewrote, and that is what makes this choir so special, and why it's always a joy for me as the as the one who puts it all together. Sometimes it's just wonderful. Oh right, and we ended with
Goodbye, Yellow Brick
Goodbye,
Road.
Yellow
Goodbye,
Brick
Yellow Brick
Road.
Road.
Elton John.
Yeah.
So, we have a great, real quick, we have a great, Anita is in the chat, Anita Weintraub, and she says the Spiel has been one of the things I have been most homesick for since I moved here. And she's down in Florida, I think, right, is where she is.
Yeah, she's
So,
in Florida.
Thank you, Anita.
Well, that writing the lyrics for the different songs is one of the things I really enjoy. Collaborating with everybody, coming up with the ideas, and then the challenges to be able to write the lyrics to the songs. And of course, it helps to know where in the play or in the story the song comes to give you the ideas for changing the lyrics. But that's one of the things I always look forward to. The first time I did it, or the first time I said I would do it, was a little bit nerve-wracking because I'd never done that before and wasn't sure I was going to be able to come through with it. But I was surprised that it was easier than I had anticipated. Although a lot of times you're writing the words to a song and you get 3/4 of the way through it, and then it's like you have one more verse to write and something just isn't coming up to you the right way. And I found usually I have to walk away either for a few hours or a day or two, and then you come back to it and you're fresh and you're able to come up with what you need. It's like you can't see the forest for the trees when you're working on it for such a long time. But I find that's one of the most fun things to do, other than the performing, of course. But I love doing that.
Yeah,
And
then-
people also during the interview said they love doing it with you too.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've had such
it's a
fun.
lot of fun.
And putting this together, because we've done so many types of spiels, and we have some folks who are part of the temple now who are newer, who may have only seen last year's TV show, Purim. I mean, does anybody remember what our first one was?
We just did
Was it Disney?
well, that was the first spiel, but I mean
Right.
the first time we did something for Purim, it was just like we sang, what did we sing? We sang I Feel Pretty
Yeah.
and My Girl.
That's right. It was.
And we just stood up there and sang the songs. We didn't write anything,
Yes.
but that was the very beginning.
That
You
was
know what?
me, Mark,
The next
and-
question just fits in with this really well. So I'm going to interrupt Karen and then she can continue right after we ask the question. How do people write lyrics for each year's spiel? Denise, you've already told us half the answer anyway. Karen, please comment on Mike's idea that we don't have a tradition to do a theater production for any other holiday.
Well, that's certainly true. you know, I mean, we've done in the past, like we've done some like more like theatrical type things for certain events, but really Purim is the standby, of course, every year. Well, mostly every year. We put on this big production, and a lot of what goes into it is the writing. And it's, I mean, for me, I think it probably is the most fun. I would just write all of it. I would love that. Um, but I mean, I know for us, my folks and me, we would like in the car on the way to Thanksgiving, right? If we had decided what we were going to do by then, we would collaboratively just kind of sit down and write. I know that I've taken, I think, at least in the past couple years, kind of a bigger role in the lyrical part of everything. And it's so, so, so fun to just see, like, oh, I would have done that in a completely different way. But it's so really like eye-opening, I guess, to see what everybody else's take is on, the lyrics of how a song is written, and it's just fascinating, really. Um, it's it's so cool. And then I think also to speak a little bit to what Denise was saying before about how like sometimes you just get that block. I think that we do a really good job bouncing ideas off one another as well to kind of get iron out those little parts that are just like, wait, is that exactly right? So it's definitely a collaborative process. Um, and as far as the, theatricality of everything, we we certainly have a lot of fun doing, preparing everything, and I think that it translates. I think everybody kind of has a lot of fun with us when they get to see the final product.
I remember your interview. You mentioned something about bringing friends who were non-Jewish to the Purim Spiel, and it being a really fun way to bring to introduce people outside the faith to what our faith is.
Yeah, I've brought, I don't know, probably over the years, 3 or 4 friends, maybe more. I don't know. Um, and it's really fun. It's something that, like people outside of the Jewish religion can relate to a theater production. So there's that tie. It just so happens that they're getting a, Jewish story out of it. And I mean, what's more fun than Purim? You come, you watch a show, you play games. I mean, sometimes you get drunk, but
Unlike my theatrical daughters, both of them were in theater in high school and other things as well. I was not always as comfortable being on stage, so writing lyrics was a way that I felt like I'd really contribute to the whole thing. I was creative in that respect, just like Karen. And like we said, we would always go to Mark's sister's for Thanksgiving, which always ended up being about a 2-hour drive at least. And by the time we left here and got to the destination, we'd already had 2 songs, wrapped up. Karen would sit with her phone and plug it in and listen to the music over and over again, the original song, and we'd come up with a way to put it together.
And we had help as well, because it was not just the 3 of us. Usually Karen had a boyfriend or husband, and Diana had a boyfriend or husband, and we'd have as many as 6 people collaborating on these songs, which was a lot of fun.
Well, the other thing too is, and this is something that transcends, to exactly to Karen's point about being able to bring non-Jews in. This is one of the few times when, other than reading, when our Balkore Fig used to read the Megillah, other than that, everything's in English. So somebody coming in to watch that production that we do can come in and understand what we're doing, because we're not, and we're doing things in a theme that they can relate to, whether it's Disney or some of the other wonderful, theme spiels that we've done, it gives people a window into our religion and our stories. Really, if you think about it, that is what Judaism is based on, is stories. Our entire, I'd say the largest portion of our Torah is stories. It's getting to the things that getting to the rules and the laws and the things, but through that, it's storytelling. And to be able to tell a story like this in the ways that we're able to, it opens us up to other faiths and religions that don't understand the whys, and want to learn. And this is a great way to tell a story.
I also don't think that we're so foreign. I mean, when I used to hear stories originally where people thought that the Jews had horns, I was like, what? What was that? And, when you relate them to stories that they can relate to, they can actually see, the Jewish people aren't so far-fetched from other people and other cultures and other situations, in our world. And then it brings them to understand sometimes the conflicts that we have, and that helps them to bridge the gap of their understanding, plus their compassion for the struggles that we've had in the past, and perhaps why we strive to stay a tribe, and keep our heritage.
That's a wonderful point. I remember preparing for this and reading that the Purim Spiels were actually the European roots of folk theater. And so we were there first, and we taught them how to do it.
Well, it also, when we did the Fiddler on the Roof show back in 2016, just looking at my crib notes here, that's a universal story as well. I mean, Fiddler on the Roof's been playing in dozens and dozens of countries and dozens of languages because it's a universal theme, where people are oppressed. And the Purim story is the exact same thing. And so, that was a real fitting year. It was real easy to overlay the Purim story onto Fiddler on the Roof. And people relate to it because, they tried to kill us. We won. Let's eat. That's kind of the theme.
The story itself was very fitting. It was not an easy year to write for, though, if I remember correctly.
No.
I feel like I remember it being pretty challenging to actually tell the story verbally. But it worked out, and it was great, and we got to do the bottle dance thing.
Yes.
Yes, and speaking of the bottle dance, since she brought it up, I just happen to have here one of the props from that year. I'm going to try to balance this so that this bottle doesn't fall off, because we wouldn't want that to happen, would we? Oh, look, the bottle stays on.
Hold on. That's again.
amazing.
Let's.
I don't remember.
You don't
Oh, here it
remember
is.
this?
Yeah.
Here it is.
Yeah.
I'll turn up the sound a little bit. Just having good stage hands.
Kathy, forget this hat.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Oh, and you had, so there were 3 people standing behind everybody, behind the 3 dancers, and they were using their hands to be the feet.
Oh, that's right.
That's why they couldn't put their hats back on by themselves.
Right.
Really talented feet.
I forgot about that day.
How short my hair
I
is.
did too.
Oh, yeah.
And I was one of those people.
You were.
Yeah.
You were on the.
And I
you're
still
on the-
forgot. Yeah.
But
I
look how
totally
I
forgot
mean,
we did that.
Is there a strenuous process to audition for a bottle dancer? Period.
I mean, it's outrageous what we had to go through. I mean, a
I
lot of
know.
yelling and
there's a
We
lot.
need to
Yeah.
bring that
auditions.
back because it started with the legit goat herd song.
It
That was one of the ones we
did.
didn't change at
That's
first.
right.
It
And
did.
then we should bring that back. We always used to try to tie it back in. You remember?
Mhm.
We said,
Speaking of the goat herd, speaking of the goat herd,
Again.
Oh, finally, yes.
Oh my
Ah,
God.
yay.
I think this was
Well, that
Sherry's.
one I remember.
This was Sherry's costume, I believe.
Yeah,
So it
I remember
was
that
goat
one.
herder.
Because us trying to get all of our pieces on was like impossible. It was
Right.
like we had like 1 minute trying to put 14 different things on. And then once you got the one hand on, you couldn't get the rest of it on.
Right.
Have somebody else do it for you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome to community
had-
theater.
These were our hands,
Yeah.
our pantyhose.
these are the hands.
Yeah.
No wonder when
funny.
you got
That
out
was
there,
fun.
you looked like such a rowdy bunch,
Yeah.
which is
Exactly.
perfect for Purim anyway.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
That was a lot of fun.
Funny.
and it was
It
always
was.
about the
Yeah.
end result. The end result was always that it was entertaining. People loved it. Rabbi Ruskin was our rabbi for many, many years during all of this. She really, in a way, she kind of initiated this. And so through the years, she took a great pleasure in our spiels. And I harken back to how, she would do her intro, and then she'd scurry down she'd go out the back, scurry down and get into her seat so she could watch us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Very good times.
Yeah.
Definitely.
There's the
Nobody
grok.
said Haman.
Amen.
What do kids learn from the Purim Spiel? So Denise, please comment on Pat's idea that we had to have more for the kids than reading the Megillah and having a carnival. So we got the youth group to make giant puppets on poles 10 feet tall.
Well, as we all know, kids have rather short attention spans.
Hmm.
And when you're just sitting in a chair listening to the reading of the Megillah, it's not something, even though it's required of us to do that, it's not something that holds the attention of the kids that much. So by using visual aids, and then of course later music, that holds their attention a lot more. They're able to connect with the characters, and that helps them to remember the story better. And Dr. David Rosenblatt, may his soul rest in peace, was the one who came up with the wonderful idea to make these giant puppets with the youth group, I believe. And I remember their heads were like this big, and they were, I don't know, 6, 8 feet tall, something like that. The heads they made with paper mache, just layering and layering and layering it. And then they had costumes that were attached to the sticks that they used, to work the puppets. And the kids just had a ball with it. Each puppet represented another character in the Purim story. And they were dressed appropriately, depending upon whether they were Mordecai or Haman or Esther. And the kids loved it. And it helped them to be able to relate to the story and also to remember the story by remembering the different characters of the puppets. And then, later, of course, it changed, and the choir started doing the Purim Spiels. But it seems to me, I remember in 1 or 2 of our Purim Spiels, we even pulled a couple of those puppets out.
We did.
To use. I don't remember which one it was that we used it in, but they lasted, and they were around for many, many years. And the
Are they
kids
still
always
around?
had a good time with that. What?
Are they still around? anywhere in the
No. I
I don't
synagogue?
think so.
No, I think they
No.
finally disintegrated out.
Yeah.
I remember
I'm
they used
trying
to be
to.
in the writing room, and when I would go in there,
Yeah.
I would jump because I thought it was somebody.
Denise is not wrong. Their heads were this big, and like
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were giant.
Esther's
giant.
smile was like this creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They were definitely
You
creepy.
have to have pictures of those somewhere, right?
they've
Someone
got to
has
be in the
images.
books.
Somewhere.
They've got to be
And
in
you
the
had
books.
to have tall kids to work them because they were
Right.
so
Mhm.
huge.
Mhm.
They were.
I remember.
The very first Purim presentation I ever saw at the synagogue was when the girls were tiny. And Rabbi Block used to put on a puppet show, and I found one of the pictures of one of the puppets that he used to use.
Oh my goodness!
I remember
Thing
those.
called
Okay.
Mashawaris,
It's
and
King Friday.
For me.
It does look like King
Yeah,
Friday.
King Friday.
think
It
they
does
were-
look like that.
before that. And he used to, act out the puppet story. So I think that was kind of like the first, other than reading Megillah, to try to engage the kids. And of course, they liked making all the noisemakers to blot out Haman's name, but
Right.
he would do a puppet show or maybe read a story or something. And, that's basically how I learned about Purim to start with myself. And, so with that in the back of your mind, you think about, well, how can you engage the kids? And the adults know the story. The adults, I think, appreciate the adaptations that we make, and they know us as individuals and have a good laugh on us as trying to act out these people, where the kids seeing the same show are just, seeing the characters of the story come alive that they kind of know, and it sort of solidifies what they do know. So I think it's real important. Sometimes we have this discussion even during putting our spiels together. We sing songs and they're very funny to us, some of the lines, and they're very appropriate for adults, but goes right over the kids' heads. So we have to sometimes bring ourselves back to say, well, wait a minute, the kids aren't going to get this.
Especially when it comes to Vashti, we got to be careful.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we've rewritten a few lines during the years to.
Yeah.
So Sherry, what were your kids' reactions to watching the show and having you in it?
I'm trying to think of how often they actually were there, because we would do it a lot on Friday nights. So I don't know. I don't remember, in all honesty. I assume they liked it. I remember Reese being very briefly part of one of them. Like many years ago when he was younger, he came up to
Yeah.
do something, and it must have had
Yeah.
something to do with Disney, because I vaguely
Yes.
recall like a Lion King.
He was like
theme or-
Simba or
Yes,
something like
yes.
that.
Yes,
I think I
yes.
remember.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Give him
as
a
they
little-
got older, yeah, he did something. I don't remember Avery. Yeah, so I don't know, but I mean,
They
I
were
don't
dressed
know.
in
I don't know that they
costume.
Mhm.
They were dressed in
Probably-
costume.
many years ago. So, but yeah, I'm assuming they enjoyed it. I don't know. Don't we all embarrass our kids? So I'm sure they were just embarrassed to some degree, especially Avery, who was already getting a little bit older when this all started. I don't remember. Obviously, we weren't there with Rabbi Block, and the first Purim thing I remember is obviously when I became part of the choir. So I don't really remember anything prior to that. Reese didn't exist. Well, I don't know. I guess Reese wouldn't have existed maybe when we first started choir, or maybe he was right after he existed. So I don't know. I mean, I don't remember. I don't even remember where my kids were most of the time. I know, it's great. Isn't that great? Good parenting on my part, but I'm assuming they enjoyed it. Yes.
I think the Wizard of Oz was the best one to involve the kids, because we had,
Yes.
in fact, we told a couple people about it. They know what show we're doing, but they don't know exactly what we're doing. So for that year, I remember the Jocelyn family had, they were the Lollipop Guild kids, and they had made these huge lollipops. So
That's
they
right.
were all part of the show, walking around. And the girls that were dressed as Esther, we would always have them come up when, we would have the Queen wannabe,
The parade. Yeah.
part, the parade.
Yes.
We would have the girls come up that were dressed like Esther or princesses to be maybe a chosen one from the king, to be the next queen. So we tried.
One of the advantages of Wizard of Oz was that we had a sisterhood movie or something, where they played the original, I thought, Wizard of Oz. Like the week before or something, the movie played to give everybody remember what Wizard of Oz is?
I vaguely remember what, but I don't know if it was. I'm trying to remember.
It could have been a couple months before that it happened, but we had the Wizard of Oz play at one time or another for anybody who maybe had never seen the Wizard of Oz, so that they would have an idea of what the Purim Spiel would be about.
You might have been.
That's the only time we've ever done that. Yeah, so that I can remember.
Yeah, I feel like it's always a little bit of a jump maybe for the kids as far as like being able to relate to the songs. Like when we do the Disney version of Purim, it's the kids are pretty well familiar with the songs and where they come from, so they are familiar with the tune and everything. When we do something like Fiddler on the Roof, the younger kids they have no idea.
I think even Mary Poppins was a little tough for them.
Which for me was like mind-blowing because I grew up with Mary Poppins,
Right.
but I remember Mary Poppins, we thought the timing was going to be really great because they were releasing the new one, and then they delayed the release of the rebooted Mary Poppins
Yeah.
for like the following year or
Yeah.
something like that.
The sequel.
That's the one where we played the movie. It was Mary Poppins where we played the movie.
Did we?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
It wasn't the Wizard of Oz. It was Mary Poppins. And we did that because of the fact that they were going to release the new one. And I think we were going to focus ours around maybe the new one, but we wanted to remind people what Mary Poppins was about. And then the new one got delayed. But I thought we still, not we as a choir, but the Temple did a movie night of some sort that involved Mary Poppins.
I think that's a wonderful idea to do that. Whatever your theme you create, it's kind of like your trailer, Karen, but on steroids, right?
Well, I mean, yes and no. From a let's do it point of view, it's not that difficult, but from a
right.
From a length point of view, yes.
Oh.
Yeah, that's actually we should probably do that if we, maybe we don't need to do it every time, but we should offer it. Future planning.
Right.
Yes.
Everybody make a note.
Depends on whether we pick a child's type of movie or
even
something
if we
that's more on
don't.
an adult level.
Yeah.
Well, that's true.
As long as
We
it's not.
could.
Starting to wonder what the adults watch these days.
Well,
Oh.
and that kind of goes to the whole process of selecting what we're going to base our spiel on each year. Sometimes it just seems obvious, like, by the time we got to the Mary Poppins movie, it was like, well, that had been considered on and off and on and off. Then they make a movie. It's like, okay, well, we're going to do this. But sometimes we think of a show that it might have phenomenal music that everybody loves, but we think, well, maybe that's a little bit over the heads of the kids. And so when we're trying to satisfy two audiences, well, maybe we need to wait a while before kids, like Hamilton's a good example. I mean, what could be more popular than Hamilton? But, do people really know the melody? The kids certainly, the little kids aren't going to know the Hamilton story. And so, I don't know how long we're going to wait till we do Hamilton. I know we're going to do it one day.
We're going to have to write it for multiple years because doing all of those lyrics, OMG.
Oh my God.
Well, I'm trying to fit that. Yeah. Well,
Now
I mean, you can fit it in the story.
Encanto, yes.
Well, another
Yeah.
one.
So there's a couple of those.
We don't talk about Haman. No.
Yeah.
No.
And a lot of people have already written songs about. I mean, I've seen like 6 or 7. We don't talk about Haman.
Right.
So that's
Yeah,
those
there are a lot of parodies.
That's tailor made
Yeah.
for a Purim spiel.
That.
It was so funny because I was watching the movie with Lila and I'm like, oh, this is Purim material. Long before I saw one video about Purim. I was like,
And everybody is, I mean, even my wife sings that song.
Catchy.
It is
Such a good
catchy.
movie.
It's awful.
In the best way.
oh, it's just, I think it's Lin-Manuel Miranda because you did the same thing with
Yeah.
all the Hamilton songs. You couldn't get them out of your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Moana. He was Moana too.
Oh, it's
Oh,
Moana.
was he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah.
He's
That's a good movie too.
I mean, he's kind of brilliant when it comes to
Oh,
writing
yes.
lyrics.
Oh my God.
Yes, he
When it comes
is.
to music, yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah, another heroine, so that's good too. Another female.
yeah.
Okay.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen, amen.
All right. So how do we have fun on Purim? Sherry, please comment on Stu's idea that it's a stigma that humor is not important. Fooling around, humor is the vehicle, the story is the passenger. I know the story now because we use dorky and delightful images. It helps to make it your own.
So I wouldn't say that humor is a stigma at all, actually. I mean, I think it's a great vehicle to relay messages. And I think Purim is the perfect time to be dorky and funny and silly. If there was ever a time to be that, I think Purim is for sure that time for us to be that way. I think it's a great way if you don't know the Purim story. And obviously we try to make it super fun for the kids in the congregation, because it's really about them learning about Purim more so than the adults who I would assume at this point know about Purim, unless they're very new to Judaism, which is entirely possible. We have a mixed congregation in the sense of, non-Jewish people, that are coming in. So I think it's a perfect way, being fun, being silly, being goofy and dorky to teach the Purim story. So I love it. It's one of the things that draws me to the Purim Spiels. I'm not heavily involved in the writing of I'm the only one that's really not. It's not my forte or my skill level. So, but I love the play part of it. I love us being able to tell the story in song.
Tell about Alexa's experience last year, seeing you.
All right,
in
here
it.
we go. We're back.
Oh,
Should-
Alexa's experience seeing me in
Yeah.
the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think obviously with Alexa being brand new to the Jewish faith, it was kind of unlike anything that she's probably ever seen. And kind of seeing me, ham it up on the screen as well was probably a joy for her. And it really was a good way, I think, for her to, kind of understand not just the Purim story itself, but what the Jewish people are about. In a certain way, all of us kind of coming together and, enjoying each other's presence, albeit virtually. But, this is really a good way for her to kind of understand, how the inclusivity of kind of our people and, what we kind of stand for. And, she was very, I think, she really enjoyed that aspect and put up with, my multiple takes of the videos that I was trying to record and, singing at the top of my lungs in the house. So she really enjoyed that.
You don't
And
sing
looks
at the top of
looks
your-
forward to next year when we can do it in person.
You don't sing at
I
the top
love
of
it.
your
Thank
lungs.
you for that, Jeff. I get the same reaction
Yeah.
around the house.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, you guys don't sing top of your lungs all the time.
Yeah. It's of course I
Please put
always
up
do
with me.
anyway every day. So
Right.
Mark and I,
Reese was my person.
when we recorded last year, Mark and I kept all the takes, and we were getting so tired, and so we had a glass of wine and we were drinking, and we got crazier as the night went on, and it was like watching bloopers afterwards. So we finally did relax enough and get it just right, but it was
doing
funny
good.
watching ourselves afterwards, getting the pieces together.
Oh,
Every
well,
mistake,
that's
take a
the new
shot.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
In
going to be
true
my new
Purim
thing for
style.
next year.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
Definitely
There's a
much
lot of
easier
partying.
doing it on stage than trying to do it technically from home.
But at least you get to redo it if you miss it.
Yeah, and redo it and redo
And
it and
redo it and
redo
redo
it.
You know,
So many redos.
that could
We were
take-
trying especially to get the background right on one of the songs. We ended up going
Yeah.
downstairs to the basement where we have a curtain over the sliding glass door, and we used that as the background. It was the only thing big enough to get both of us, with a similar background. But it was
Yeah, and as I recall too, there was an issue with some of us recording, horizontally on our phone versus
Gosh.
vertically, right? And we had to all kind of redo so that we were all.
Yep.
That was
Yes,
pretty
yes.
funny
I
too.
felt bad asking you guys to do that, but I'm like, you guys understand that the bar's on the side.
It's like
Right.
watching.
That's funny.
like
Jeff, I
very-
don't think I've ever asked you, did you ever do a Purim Spiels before you came to us?
I did a lot of things, in my youth at my temple. I couldn't recall being in a Purim Spiel though. I was involved in many other things when I was growing up there, but I tried to look back through like all my old Facebook posts from 15 years ago or 20 years ago, and I couldn't find much. I'm sure I was, over the top in other certain ways at the temple I was growing up at. But
wait a minute. Facebook's been around for 20 years. Are you serious?
yeah, I went back as far as I could. It took me a while when I came up empty-handed though.
Almost
making me
20
feel
years.
old.
Yeah, I know.
It's
Yeah.
been,
That's
I
good.
think
I
what
think
It's
it
been a
had been
while.
that long.
yeah, it started in like
15.
2004, 2005. It's been
Yeah.
almost 20 years.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Jeez.
Almost.
You know,
That's sweet, huh?
It's fun. It's interesting that you asked that about Jeff, because I have very little, if any, recollection of what we did at my temple a very long time ago for Purim at all. I mean, maybe there was groggers, but there was no production. I
Well,
don't
that's
even remember
funny.
the Megillah reading at all.
Yeah, and I was just thinking that too. Like, I mean, we do this and it's normal for us. I
Right.
wonder, and I know that there have to be other congregations out there who have
Agreed.
productions like this, but I wonder, how many? What's
Right. It's I don't think it's the norm. I think that it's great that we do that. And I think that it certainly has probably benefited my kids in learning. I just think that our temple is a more relaxed, environment. It's a very accepting environment. They're open to new ideas. I don't think that in the temple that I grew up in, a spiel like this would have been something very accepted, in all honesty. So perhaps that's why. I grew up Jewish. I remember being in religious school from a very young age, and I was bar mitzvahed and confirmed, and have no recollection of Purim, although I obviously learned it in some way. I have some recollection before I became a member of this temple of Purim. But other than like home and Tashin and maybe a little grogger, that's, it definitely wasn't a fun time like it is at our temple. And that's something I definitely appreciate. So
We've been in congregations all over the country, and maybe a dozen of them that we spent a long time at, and over the Purim holidays. And I remember one conservative congregation that used to dress up and have a pretty good time doing Purim. But what really makes the experience at Temple Adas Shalom that I got secondhand through the interviews was the other theme that you had, like the movie that you based your Purim on. And I think that led to a level of creativity that was, in my experience, unique.
I remember a couple of years ago, I was out on the internet just looking, seeing what other spiels are out there that you could like look at the lyrics for and whatnot. And, all modesty aside, our writing was superior to anything that I read, even stuff that was for sale.
I have to agree.
It was just amazing. I mean, we're used to our level of whatever we do, like, people are, but when you start comparing, it's it's like this, right? But
But it goes
Oh,
to show, like, we're a lot harder on ourselves, I think, than anyone else.
Which we are. But I I have a saying that I use with the choir, and that has run for many years, and it is like, I have stopped being surprised or amazed by what we can do. The level of talent that is here is amazing. And again, for those who are watching that are not part of our temple, David and Jeff are new, but Stu and Linda, we've certainly had choir members come and go, but myself, Mark and Pat, Denise, Karen, Sherry, this is a core group that have been together for now
Beginning.
16,
15,
17.
Almost as long as
little-
Facebook.
16,
Yeah.
The MySpace days.
MySpace
Yeah.
days.
We may be close. I'm
Yeah, it
trying
was-
to remember the year that
Avery
I
was
came
3.
back.
So it
Okay.
was 2006. I joined the temple when Avery was 3. So so she was born in 2003, and our first choir started, not the Spiel, the choir started in that, I guess it was 2007 when this choir started. We played for Martin Luther King in January of 2007. That was our very first choir. And then the Spiels, I guess, took off since then. So I guess we're at 15 years now.
It's got to be something like that, because it
Yeah.
all.
Around that. I'm close, at least.
Yeah, and it may have been longer than that, because I remember how the choir got started. I had come back to the temple after being away. I mean, I grew up in this temple, so I did the paper mache puppets, and I did the puppet show with David Rosenblatt, and I remember the puppet shows from Rabbi Block, and when I came back as Jacob, we had just moved here. Jacob was 2 years old.
Because he's a year younger than Avery, I think, isn't he?
Yeah, and we put him in
Yeah.
religious school early. And we got back here for high holidays one year, and I remember Kathy Lazarski running up to me, finding me, and says, I heard you were in a choir here when you were younger. And I'm like, yes. He goes, good, come here, and grabs me and pulls me up. You guys, I think Mark and Pat, Karen, I think you were there.
I wouldn't
think-
have probably been back until 2009 because I didn't graduate.
Maybe it was
Until
Kathy's. Maybe it was
December of
Kathy's. I
08.
know Kathy's daughter was there.
Yeah.
Yes,
There was
yes.
a small group singing down on the bottom of the bima, and Rabbi Ruskin was up at the lectern, and so I found myself sitting here singing with a choir. Most people I had not met, because I had been away for so long, and people come in and I didn't know anybody, but oh my God, you were in the. So somehow that translated into Rabbi Ruskin calling me and said, so would you like to help me put a choir back together? I'm like, well, you have a choir. She goes, well, they kind of just get together, and when I bring them up to sing, I said, I'd like, could you actually put a group together? And and that's how we got started. I went over and I talked to Mark and Pat. I talked to Denise. I talked to a few people, in the room during the ONEG, and said, would you guys like to actually, form a group? And they were like, yeah. And so this was, I'm horrible with time, so it's at least 15
I'm
years.
telling you, it was like 2006, late 2006, early 2007. We sang as a choir. The very first time, at least I was part of the choir, was for Martin Luther King, January of 2007.
Yeah, we were.
No,
we
this
were-
is remembering about when the choir started. What do you remember and use about the Purim story? Mark, please comment on Linda's idea that the Purim story needs to be told so that younger generations understand how people have fought for the rights of the Jews for many centuries.
Well, yeah, so I agree with Linda's statement, and it goes back to the usual story of they tried to kill us, we won, let's eat. But the slight difference for the Purim story is that most of the time when there's a story like this, somewhere along the line, we think that God's got some sort of role in the whole story. And God's never mentioned in the Purim story, not even once. As those of you who were at services Friday night know from the Purim quiz that we did, never mentioned. So, to me, it's the Purim story is almost quintessential about taking action. So you're in a situation, you're trying to make the best of it or get out of it or whatever you're trying to do. And, the Jews have to do stuff. They can't just sit back and say, oh, well, things will probably work out, because they probably aren't going to work out. So it's really an action-based idea. And this Purim story is exactly that, because what happens? Mordecai says, we got to do something. And he talks to Esther, and she's like, okay, yeah, let's do something. And they're taking an active role in making things happen. They're pushing to make things happen. And that's often what we have to do if we want to get something accomplished. So I support Linda's statement 110%.
I think that's wonderful. We've just had all these focus groups, or are still having these focus groups, and what we need to do. And actually, reform movement is growing, but growing slower than the population, and that's not a good sign. And we did talk about the action that we need to do to make sure that we have a Jewish community in Hartford and Cecil County, and make sure that we have Reform Judaism growing and prospering in the world, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we need to work together to do. And I mean, David, you just mentioned the focus groups that the congregation's been running, looking at the future of the temple and looking at our priorities. And those things are eventually going to get translated into recommendations to we're getting a little administrative here, to our board of trustees on things that actually do. Because if we go through and do all these focus groups, get all this input from about 50 different members of the congregation, and then don't do anything, that's not an acceptable alternative. So
if everybody that was involved in those focus groups commits to action the same way that this choir has committed to action, and we make use of all their separate skills and abilities the way this choir has made use of each other's talents, we will really prosper in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Takes a village.
Yeah.
That is true.
Absolutely.
No. I gotta say, so going back and watching last year, I sometimes I'll go back and watch this just to watch it, because everybody else has done these in more of a professional manner, right? You see, symphonies do it, and they've got these big folks that professional editors and all that stuff. We filmed a lot of this on our phones. I mean, we filmed a lot of you guys to get, we never really told the story. Now, I was doing this, obviously I don't have the gold walls anymore from here, but to give people an idea of how this was put together. We wrote all the songs out and kind of correlated. We never actually physically met through this whole process. Everything was done on Zoom to meet up and to pick all this out and to write the lyrics, and everybody got lyrics. I ended up getting karaoke versions of these songs and getting them out to everybody that were singing. They put in headphones so that you couldn't hear the music in the background, but they could, and recorded this, shot their videos back to me. I took my editing software and actually took those karaoke music tracks and lined up the video to the music. And for the most part, it came out so good. And to watch, like the next song that comes up is Denise, you and Linda doing the Queen Wannabe song. And I'm gonna skip ahead because you've seen enough of me here. Yeah, and just to understand, let me turn this up just a little bit. This is Laverne and Shirley too.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're smart, naive.
Two
We're ready
people
to dance and be your queen.
singing.
We wanna you. Give us all a chance to show you. We can earn your heart. We know you. We'll be the queen of Shushan now. We're gonna do it. Nothing's gonna make us give up. Don't tell us now to shut up. We're gonna make our dreams come true. Make you happy. There's nothing we won't do. Never heard the words you can't be queen this time. There's no saying no. Making you happy. On your mark, get that out, get fun. Got a dream.
Each of you was in an ear, by the way. You're in stereo.
Make our dreams come true. And we'll do it your way. Shine. Please make our dreams come true. And we'll do it your way. Just keep it one. Please make our dreams come true. For us and you.
That is two separate people with the same track in two different homes recording, and then me having to edit it so that you guys are perfectly in sync together and then perfectly in sync with the music. I have to say this. This was such a joy to put together. Oh.
You don't have to put this one on, Mike.
No, it's tough watching yourself, isn't it?
It's very tough watching yourself.
No, I mean,
Oh yeah,
but-
I had to re-record my stuff a million times.
Oh, hang on.
Because you
'cause-
were so amazing, Mike, to be able to do all of that and put all of that together so that it was so perfectly syncopated and all. I mean,
the hardest.
I know what hard time I had just trying to tape it at home, and then for you to take all these different ones that were done from everybody's individual house and then put it together so that it came out like that was, to me, just a miracle.
Well, I'll tell you, the hardest one, was it this one? Or was it the last one? I think this was it. The hardest one to put together was Bandstand.
Was it
And getting-
Bandstand?
yeah.
That was
With all of us.
Jeff with the bass.
Yep.
Now, I couldn't get. There's a little bit of off syncopation there, but to get everybody's voice, this was such a joy to put together. It really was. And we sang this in harmonies and everything.
I look like a mouth
Don't let them pop your head.
I'm so dark. I need to do a better job recording mine in the lights.
I think I had this thing over my head because I had big earphones on.
Oh, I think so.
And they're green, and I tried to hide them.
If you notice, I have these on, and I have the
Crown over top.
over that.
Yeah.
Like Princess Leia, Karen.
Yeah, and I'm holding it because it's a curtain. It's a curtain draped over my like
That's all right.
bright teal over ear headphones.
Recognize the purple napkins were from your wedding.
Okay, I mean, hey, you guys are looking,
So
you know,
funny.
similar. That's
And everybody here, so Ann was time perfect on the narration to introduce everybody, and we were all in the background dancing and having a good time, and it just so perfect.
One of my favorite
I'm
parts
in the
was
dark room.
Ann's narration during the Animaniacs.
Oh yeah,
It was great.
that was back a little bit. Hold on, that was back here, wasn't it?
Yeah,
yeah,
that had to be another hard one.
that was good. Gosh, but we a different kind of hard work when it
Yes. We should do this live.
No. We could not do this live.
That was so fast.
was really
so hard
fast.
to keep up with. Oh my
I
God.
will have to repractice a lot if we're gonna do this together. That was not easy.
Yummy seeds on top. Oh, how about Chinese in a movie? Better yet, go to the deli for a coconut and dagger.
Perfect.
So this was the first one. Linda and I worked on the libretto together, and we were spacing that, and we had to put the words together for her to say, and we would sit and would listen to the music and try to get all the words in and have it make sense. And we had no idea how fast it was going to be, and it was amazing that she could get the words in that we said.
And
Yeah,
it
that
was
song was
really amusing. Like
It
it was
was.
very fun to watch.
It was. It's fun to watch back, and this is where the fun comes for me. So, you know, keep in mind that up until this point, I had never heard Jeff's voice, right? So I'd never heard Jeff sing, and because we hadn't gotten back into the shul yet, we were still in Zoom. Never heard him sing. And then I hear this. So I'm gonna do this one, not the.
You're all together broken, saw what you like and took it. I'm in your face, so look it. I won't bow down to you. Take away our freedom, our people you don't lead them. Dear king, we do not need them. I won't bow down to you. Hot seat, not the street.
I love this line.
Your minced meat. You made your name, will you should be praying. You won't be what you're craving. I won't bow down to you.
And the face. And all I can think of as I'm
Good.
putting this together is, oh my God, the things that we can do. Oh, the future of this choir. And it's the same thing. So when we did start doing some hybrid services and we got back into the synagogue, and David and Annette are coming and I'm playing, and I can hear a distinct voice in the congregation as I'm singing stuff. And lo and behold, I look up and it's David. And David reminds me a lot of me when I was, you know, when I would sing.
When you were younger, right?
When I, where, you know, if I knew a song, man, I was belting it out. And I could hear him so distinctly. And I'm like, I've got 3 great male voices plus mine in this choir. How can I redo this choir to take advantage? Yes, Mark, I'm talking about you too.
That's who the third was.
And
I'm
then-
the 4th best singer in my family.
Yeah, but look at your family.
Mm,
Right.
Yep.
That's-
That's funny.
but
Very
this
funny.
is, you know, these are these are the things that we're able to do, and it you know, as I've looked back on our librettos to see what we have done, whether it is, I mean, you know, I you know, if you can believe Walt Disney was Jewish, that was our
Yeah.
first, yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I remember too that there was some debate about the title because Disney, you know, there were
Was not.
stories about Disney,
Oh, yes.
but yet it worked. You know, the Sound of Shushan was so perfectly named. Haman's just a goof, you know, Fiddler on the Roof. Haman's just a goof. Yeah, those are things that I don't like. I've seen Purim spiels online, and they all say, you know, a rock and roll Purim or a Hamilton Purim, or we really, from start to finish, it wasn't just the, you know, it was the narration. It wasn't just the songs. It was the title and it was a narration. And the things that we can look forward to in the future, I think the congregation, you know, not just our you know, our standing legacy members that have seen us do these spiels for the last 12 years, but our new and our younger members who haven't seen anything but maybe what they saw last year. I think we have a great opportunity to come back with next year's spiel and just and you know, we're talking about Encanto and gosh knows what else will come between now and then. You know, Karen and I have always kind of mused about a Star Wars Purim, you know.
Ah.
you
Or
know,
a John Williams Purim.
or a
in
John
general.
Williams. Yeah.
Oh, that would be great. John
Oh.
Williams. Yeah.
So,
And
you know.
here's where we start listing all our awesome ideas.
Yeah.
This happens every single year. Even when we don't put on a proper spiel, we're musing about.
Yes, we're always in
So
planning
funny.
mode.
Yep.
So,
And that's fun.
This is
That's
an
one of the
opportunity.
most fun part.
Boo.
So I did promise a bit of a summary, but we have the choir celebrates our Jewishness during Purim every year by being creative together. That people write lyrics for each year's spiel by collective storytelling and collective lyric writing. Kids learn from the Purim spiel maybe best when they're part of it, which was an interesting concept. And we have fun in Purim by getting together and creating. I think that was a key part of it. And we remember and use the Purim story because it's about us taking action. And as Mike was summarizing, and you guys were adding all your wonderful contributions, it just made me think that, gee, maybe we ought to have Purim all year long, or at least something like it, and get everybody involved in making our synagogue come alive in all sorts of new ways, like you all have made it come alive during Purim.
There's always a Passover spiel.
Yep. Yeah.
And we
I
have
say let's do it
some
for Yom
comments on
Kippur.
chat that probably, I don't know whether you want to, Mike, if you have them and you're gonna.
No, I think people have been content to just listen, sit back and listen and watch. We had Anita, and I want to say hi to Aiden Goldman. Aiden sent me a message, believe it or not, on my Xbox app that he was listening in and enjoying, and wanted to let everybody know how wonderful the Purim Carnival was today.
Good.
We
Yeah,
did not. I
it was
did
a good
not get a
attendance.
chance to, because it was a camping weekend. I didn't get a chance to get to the temple this afternoon for the carnival, but I heard it was excellent. So,
I I need to add one thing,
Mhm.
if I might. So I didn't mention that one of the highlights of my personal Purim Spiel career was in 2015 when I played Girl One, and my mother was who's online, I think, watching on YouTube. She saw us come out on whatever the skit was, and she was asking my brother-in-law, who's that, or where's Mark? And he says, well, he's the girl up in the middle there. And she actually did not recognize me, which has been a kind of like a great
so
fun
funny.
story for a long time.
That is funny.
Mhm.
I guess
how we
I
take the
have to
fun.
respond to one of the chats that said that when I was bending over reading, all they could see was the top of my head.
Oh, that was me.
Which, of course, must have been blinding. In which case, we could probably use that in some future Purim Spiel.
It'd be excellent.
Well,
No. You know,
we'll
that year, by
capitalize
the
for
way,
sure.
Mark, 2015 was
It
was the year we combined Disney and Hairspray. Because
Mm.
Oh,
right, Hairspray.
Diana Emanuel was King Ahasuerus.
That's
She
right.
was.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, and then
God. My
Yeah,
and
we
Sherry
There it
was
is. There it is.
Yeah, Sherry was Haman.
Where is it?
Isn't that it?
Yes.
That's Dad right
I
there.
did. I played
Yeah.
a boy.
Picture.
That's me with the blonde hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So funny.
So
God, that
which
wig
is the
was
one
so
where
itchy.
Yeah. Well,
which is the one where Linda and I fought to be Queen Wannabe. So that's why that was my all-time favorite one. That was a long time ago. Remember, we literally
Yes.
argued and were pushing each other down the aisle. Oh my God,
Got
that was so
violent.
much
was that
fun.
just
I
can't wait to be?
remember.
You
It
guys,
did. It did.
I just can't wait to be
We
queen.
can't
Was
wait.
that,
We were
was
Queen
that you two?
Wannabes.
Hang on.
Yes, I don't. It was a long time
That
ago. I don't
might have
remember.
been the
It's like
first one.
200 years
Yeah, I
ago.
just
Probably.
can't wait to be queen.
Right.
When we did
Mhm.
Yes,
I think
it
it
was
is, right.
you. It was
Yes.
you. It was you, Denise, and Diana.
no, we
No,
did it
Linda.
twice.
I'm talking about the one with Linda. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so there was a second one.
Because we did a best of.
Right. Or
Remember?
well, we did the Disney thing
know.
first, and it was we did pull it off on the
Right.
internet. Very first one.
First one.
And
Yes,
then we
yeah.
rebooted it, I don't know, 5 years later or so.
Yeah,
We did a
something like
couple
that.
of,
And we
we've-
added some not better songs, some of our own
different
songs, newer songs.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was 2015. That was the Disney,
Well,
Queens and Kings. Princesses,
couldn't be the
Queens and
one-
Kings.
Well, because
'Cause I
Linda
think
was a
Haman-
narrator for that year.
Yeah, so it wasn't. She wasn't a
Might have been
narrator. She was
me.
definitely a Queen Wannabe with me.
So it may have been
So
the first time.
it was a while. Yeah, it was before 2015. I think it was.
You
a
have
few
all the
years before
curlers in your hair and
2015.
you're pulling the curlers out. and
Yeah,
so-
we were ridiculous with our props, and it was a blast. Though we had so much fun.
We
You're
might
more
not
like the
have-
ugly stepsisters in Cinderella
Yeah.
fighting.
I sent you a picture, Karen. I definitely sent a picture of it, but I don't know that we have video of it. I don't know, but I sent a picture of it. I did find
Wait
a
a minute.
picture of us.
Wait a minute. I
Of us
might
acting ridiculous.
remember. Hold on. Let me see if it's.
I found some pictures.
Yes. It was the Wicked Wizard of Oz Purim story. It was
Okay.
Kathy, Pat, you, and Linda. You guys were
Right.
doing If I Were
Okay.
Queen of Shushan.
Yes, we were ridiculous.
Right, because at
Linda
first
and I
one,
were, for
Pat
sure.
said Pat would go not Duchess, Sherry went not Diva, and Linda would go not Jap.
Yes, yes.
Not
Yeah.
Jap.
That's it.
Jap.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's the
With her
one.
spot, with her royal spot.
Yes.
remember?
Yes.
Yes.
2014.
Oh my God, that one was so fun. It was a
And
while
my
ago. I knew it
royal
was a long time
spot.
ago.
Ugh.
2014.
Yeah,
Good
that was my most
lurch.
fun one for
Wow.
sure.
So
Yeah.
So our time is up, but I think we ought to give Mike the last word.
Well, I wanted to ask one final question of my own, because we all, what? Well, maybe we'll do this next year, because then you and Jeff will have at least one, and Jeff will have two under his belt. For Mark, Pat, Denise, Karen, and Sherry, I've been through 12 years of Spiels with you guys, and it's been hard to find a favorite, but The Wicked Wizard of Oz might have etched out my favorite. What was yours? Favorite Spiel?
I have to agree. I think the Wicked, Wizard of Oz.
That was
that
the
whole
one we
thing.
were just talking about, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so
Oh, yeah.
well
That
written.
was a blast. Yeah.
I always thought we
Although
should
Mary
sell
Poppins
that one.
was good
It was a
too.
really good one.
And Fiddler on the Roof was really good too.
Mm.
It's hard
I
to
mean, they were all, yeah, they were all good. They were all fun.
good. Yeah.
But I think the Wicked Wizard of Oz was definitely, or whatever we called it, that was
Yeah,
fun.
That was a good one.
I really enjoyed last year's, as strange as it was. It was just fun. Once it was put together, so it wasn't the same as it was of us being together. But once it was put together, it was hilarious to watch, and just a lot of fun. So that in and of itself made it fun. But yeah, the one where the four of us got to be like our queen wannabes, that was by far my most.
I enjoyed them all too, and but the Mary Poppins one I was most comfortable with because it ended up I was singing the song that I wrote, so I really knew it well, and I was comfortable singing it. Otherwise, it's sometimes for whatever reason I don't have the, like I said, the talent that my girls do to remember those words, and I get on that Bema and I freeze, and Mike's there. Tell me the next word. But that was the one I was most comfortable with, but I certainly enjoyed every single one of them. Yeah.
And I would, they've all been great, but Wicked Wizard of Oz just stands a cut above, I think, one, because the lyrics were just phenomenal. The story, putting together 3 time frames at the same time with the present and then the whole Wizard of Oz story and the Shushan story, integrating all that was just so cool that's got to stand above for me.
So in the so Anita asked, are any of these things available for watching for those of us who can't be there? So, and I misread her question. So this, by the way, our discussion here today will be on this channel here for future. And what I may do is upload the 2016 video. I know it's it's not as well put together as last year's because of the editing, the camera angles and stuff. But I think people could come back to it and see it. So I'll get it up on the channel here. And K Dizzle 2222 said oh, is that you?
That's me.
All right. Oh, never mind. So there is to answer Anita's real question. I think and this is something we can discuss internally, is how do we get these that are recorded in the sanctuary for people to see, or could we do, and I think we'll get Stu involved as our technology chair to get these things maybe live streamed for people who can't make it on Sunday morning, and then they can see it live, and then it will always be here for posterity.
Yep. For
I like
watching it back later. And if we want to see ourselves.
That's true.
Not that that's a high priority, I don't think, for us, but it's, it is nice to go back and look sometimes.
It is.
I like to see my Oscar-worthy performances. So
Tony winning performances.
Tony,
right.
oh, that's right, Tony. Yes,
Hey,
sorry.
We did one
gotta
heck
get it
of a Friends song.
We did,
Yeah.
which
We
is impressive
did.
because I struggled with our songs. Some of those songs can be hard because they're written in keys that are a little difficult, especially when you're combining voices.
Yeah.
I didn't have much.
different ranges.
I didn't have much time because not much I could do about that one this year. I can mess with them other years. I couldn't mess with them this year. So
Last year.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, last
Yeah,
year. It was all
past
good,
year,
though.
past year.
I think we rocked it. Yeah.
We did.
all right. So as Mr. David has said, we've come to the end of our roundtable. We literally could sit here and talk for hours, but I don't know if everybody wants to hear that. So
I couldn't.
I
I mean, just because I need to stand up.
Yeah.
I need a
So,
break.
Yes, I understand
I've
that
been
one.
fighting with the dog for the last hour. So,
that explains why we just see you going.
oh my God, she's driving me bananas. So,
Well, we want to thank everybody who came to watch us here. Like I said, if you're not seeing this live, thank you for watching later. Hit the like button. Subscribe to our channel. We will start trying to put up some more videos from the choir here and see what else the temple wants to put up. I want to thank Pat and Mark and Denise and Karen and David and Jeff and Sherry for coming together with me and this crazy idea I had for something different. To Stu and Linda, who are out on a cruise right now, enjoying hopefully better weather than we have. Hope you guys are having a wonderful time. I can't wait to get back. And Anne, who is under the weather, we hope you're feeling better. We will be back next year with a spiel of some sort. And yeah, so happy Purim, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day and week, and we'll see you at the temple soon.
bye.
Bye.
Everybody.